Losing the connection with the body is one of the biggest problems I ever see in singers with voice problems, or even if there aren't problems, if they're just not able to make the technical sounds they want. Singers have a tendency to think that their whole instrument starts here, and they lose all of this connection. Now, these support strategies are really, really crucial to getting efficient production in the larynx. The problem with that word support is it means a lot of different stuff to a lot of different people. And what we found actually is that support isn't a one-size-fits-all solution. Support strategies change depending on the sound you're trying to make. So for example, if you're making a very breathy sound, he, you're going to feel a lot of pull in the lower abs. You can feel that belly button really pull back towards the spine because you're having to use a lot of airflow to keep that sound breathy. Whereas as soon as you start to try and clean up a softer sound, more like a whimper, he, your crying muscles actually become very important to that sound. So part of that support strategy actually happens in and outside the larynx. So you might feel a little bit more activity around here, and you might feel a little bit more support from the soft palate. And I think this is when you hear singing teachers describe that up and over feeling. I think this is what they're probably getting at. Whereas when you're making a much more mixy or whingy sound, what you're going to feel is a little tiny bit of hold happening in the lower abdomen. It's still flexible, it's still going to move, but there's that sense of almost as if you've got a little bit of a tummy ache, or you're really trying to hold back on the sound. And that's counterintuitive because that sound can get quite loud, but your body is actually feeling like it's holding something back. Whereas when we go to something like our natural calling out voice or a yell kind of sound, hey! We only do that in real life in very short, sharp bursts, and we tend to do it in moments of fight or flight. Now, when you see your friend stumble off the sidewalk out in front of a bus, you don't stop and think. Take a nice, big, deep breath, figure out the support strategy. You just go, hey! And you try and get their attention. And it's a very reflexive thing, but what you'll notice when you break that sound down is as soon as we go into that fight or flight, you feel a much greater response in the muscles of posture. The neck gets quite engaged at the back. You feel those muscles in the back, your lats get quite engaged. You'll feel the muscles deep in the pelvis get engaged, and there's a real sense of readiness. Boxers are great at this really heavily increased trunk or core stability. Boxers, swimmers, gymnasts, ballerinas, they live in this condition of kind of hard support in the body, and this is actually what we need to belt. There's very, very little airflow in this sound, but there is actually quite a lot of physical tension that comes from underneath the larynx, and people get quite afraid of that because they're taught that relaxation, is the key to everything. And although it is the key to certain things, it's actually very counterproductive for our natural calling voice, or what you might associate with belting.